Hey, good evening, Top Fan Rivalry followers. It's Wednesday night, or I'm sorry, it's Thursday night, which means that Jackson and I record for you for the next morning the weekly review inside the clubhouse. Jackson, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing excellent. I'm doing excellent. And I've got an announcement, Jackson, before we start and go into our top three. For those of you listening to this on or in the clubhouse, go to topfanrivalry.com right now. That's kind of how you accessed it. But on the homepage, click on the watch events. We got a number of watch events, watch party events coming up. Sign up, tell us which ones you want to be at. They're going to be different locations. If you're local in Southern California, Fountain Bowl is going to host a Dodgers Angels watch party. We got another one coming up. We got one in Anaheim potentially for an Angels A's. We got Philadelphia against the Braves in Atlanta. We got the Mets, I believe, in the Braves in New York. I mean, all kinds of fun watch parties, Jackson. So, but please register and tell us if you want to be there. So, enough of a Jackson. I wish you were closer to Atlanta, baby. This is gonna be fun.
Hey, I'm only 14 hours away. I'll drive. I'll drive.
They, they listen. So you know the state. You've been to the stadium before, right? And you've
Yes.
been around there. Have you ever been to Park Bench, which is right by the stadium, right in that shopping center there?
No, we walked around the battery, but then we went in for batting practice.
There, there you go. So the Park Bench is going to be the place where we're going to host the first watch party in Atlanta.
All right.
So I'm excited. I'm excited. All right, Jackson. So what do you got for us? What's number one on your list tonight of things we need to talk about on the weekly review? Considering pitchers and catchers report soon, what are we going to talk about?
The Hall of Fame ballot, of course.
Woo! Scott Rolen. Okay.
Congratulations, Scott Rolen. Looking at the numbers, he is a top 10 third baseman of all time that can be measured. There's a lot of people around here, especially in the Pennsylvania area, that are Phillies fans that don't think Scott Rolen's very good. He wasn't the best with the Phillies. He was really good with the Cardinals for a stretch. He's one of those guys that was hurt a lot, but while
Mhm.
on the field, he was one of the best, if not the best, third baseman in the league for stretches. So congratulations, Scott Rowland. I don't want to hear any people comparing Keith Hernandez's stats or John Mattingly's stats. They're not the same. They didn't play third base. I'm sorry. Scott Rowland, a Hall of Famer. Don Mattingly, not a Hall of Famer. I have it pulled up right here.
Tell us how you really feel,
Dude,
Jackson.
we could just be different now.
Well, I think what's interesting about this,
Hey,
first of all, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry, cut you off.
I was going to say, I had to fight some coworkers this week. I had to pull up baseball reference at work.
I love it. Well, I think what's interesting is I'm looking at the baseballreference.com and Scotty Rowland got in. Todd Helton wasn't that far away. Billy Wagner's not that far away. Andrew Jones has still got a little work, but he can get there. Poor Jeff Kent didn't make it on his final year of the balloting. But some of the ones that surprised me are the ones that don't even move to the next ballot, right? And one of those being like guys like John Lackey, who had a pretty decent career, but he doesn't move on to the next ballot, right? He had 188 wins. He doesn't move on. But there's guys like Jimmy Rollins who've got some work to do. Alex Rodriguez came up again, so that's interesting. Yeah. Yep. Interesting. We'll take a Braves perspective of this real quick, just to kind of have fun. At some point, we need to do a podcast about numbers on Hall of Fame ballots and comparing and contrasting different players. Because Dale Murphy's statistics are a little bit better than Scotty Rowland's, and he's not in. And so, but again,
But
there's your argument, right? He didn't play third base. There's a lot of different arguments that you can make, right?
yeah, and Dale Murphy was a Gold Glove outfielder till his knees gave out.
Yeah.
So the problem is the back end of that career, and it's probably what's going to do Andrew Jones. And I know he's climbing a little bit. I think he's going to stall. As much as I
Yeah.
love Andrew Jones, his last 5, 6, 7 years in the MLB were not great. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. So can I piggyback on your number one and go to my number one and staying on the Hall of Fame balloting?
sure.
So next year, prediction time. Breaking news. Bill predicts two things I predict. One, that the Angels will play in October this year. Yes, I guarantee the Angels will play in October. You asked me why I know this? Because their last game of the regular season is on October 1st. So the Angels are for sure going to play in October. That means, there you go, Jackson. How was that? That's pretty funny, isn't it? Okay. Number two, Adrian Beltre. First year on the Hall of Fame balloting. Does he get in as a first ballot Hall of Famer? Yes or no, Jackson?
Yes, of course.
I agree. I think he and Todd Helton will get in next ballot. I think Todd Helton's got enough where he's close enough where he'll get in, but I think Adrian Beltre gets in. I think Chase Utley will get really close too. But yeah,
I think
Adrian.
Utley's problem, backtracking a bit, Utley's problem is he doesn't have the counting stats. I think the two surefire guys on next year's ballot are going to be Adrian Beltre and Joe Mauer.
Ooh, you think Joe Mauer, huh?
I mean, he's the only catcher to win more than one batting title. He was in his prime, 6 years, probably one of the best hitting catchers of all time. I know he got hurt at the end of his career, but he played catcher. That's why he got hurt. Catchers get hurt. They don't have long careers. He stuck
Yeah,
around for a lot longer. I think he won an MVP too. I think he won two MVPs, didn't he?
yeah, he won two. Yeah,
Yeah, he went to get in on the first ballot, but I definitely could see Joe Mauer going into the Hall of Fame.
yeah. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. He won one MVP, three Gold Gloves, three batting titles, five Silver Sluggers.
I mean, three batting titles as a catcher. Who else has done that? Like, come on.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting because when you look at Hall of Fame balloting, I always like to look at the years ahead, right? And so next year, I think your first ballot guys are Adrian Beltre and maybe Joe Mauer, and then you get Todd Helton in there. The following year, guaranteed Ichiro Suzuki is a first ballot guy,
Oh,
no
definitely.
question. And then you also have Felix Hernandez in 2025. So there's going to be some debate on. He may not be a first ballot guy, but he was for the years where he was dominant. He was dominant. And then you also have CC Sabathia. So there's going to be a lot to talk about in Hall of Fame balloting here pretty quick.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's always fun to see, where players land, this and that. But at the end of the day, like we talked about, it's all about where you played and when you played.
yeah, exactly. Preach where you played and when you played. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Put it on
So what do you got for number two? We've talked about Hall of Fame. What do you got for number two?
number two. I'm going to backtrack to the Angels for a second and
Okay.
go on a micro rant. Artie Moreno not selling the team. What that means for baseball, what that means for Angels fans. As someone who grew up in Southern California watching the Angels, this is a very big blow to the Angels franchise. You know, professional sports in general has a problem with overbearing owners who think they know better than the guys they pay to do the job. And Artie Moreno is an example of that. And for him to announce the sale of the team to the fans and then rip it out from underneath him because he probably didn't get an offer that he liked more than anything. It's gonna stink. It's gonna sting. So this is do or die for the Angels. They've made some good moves this offseason. Like you said, they'll be guaranteed at least one game in October this year. So it's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Heading in the spring to stay healthy. They have Mike Trout playing in the World Baseball Classic. They have Shohei Ohtani playing in the World Baseball Classic. So those are things to keep an eye on because those guys need to stay healthy for the Angels to be successful this season.
Yeah. First of all, the way that the announcement was handled was very political. I mean, it was almost like, a politician saying, I like offense, I like defense, but the best part's the cheerleaders. Like the announcement was, oh, there's still work to be done, and I'm such a baseball fan, and I had Angel fans texting me and IMing me on Instagram that were livid, Jackson, that were livid. We did a live the next night with two of these Angel fans, and they were heck bent and they were very upset. Um, like you say, it's do or die for the Angels right now. to yes, and they gotta. It's not the spending the money. It's not that they're not spending the money. It's how they're allocating the funds that they're doing, and it really comes down to not pitching. It comes down to hitting. Last year, their pitching wasn't that bad. They just went on that 14 game losing streak where they were averaging 1 or 2 runs a game. You can't have that, right? You just can't have that. So, um, yeah, that was a big blow to the Angels. That's for sure. That was a big blow to the Angels.
Yeah, I think it highlights a bigger, like I said, a bigger problem where you know it's hard for fan bases to should have the power just to outright remove the owner because that's kind of crazy. Mob rule can get kind of crazy sometimes, but you got to feel for the Angels fans, you got to feel for Pittsburgh Pirates fans, got to feel for Cincinnati Reds fans. Fan bases
Yeah,
that have had issues with the owners, saying certain things and operating their club in a certain way, and just not putting a winning product on the field. At the end of the day, everyone just wants to watch good baseball.
amen. So yeah, I agree. And like I said on the live, it's good when most teams have a winning history, right? Even if you go to the Pirates, remember the We Are Family Pirates in the 70s, and they had some great teams in the 80s with Barry Bonds and Willie Stargell and Dave Parker, right?
The World Series they won in 1960 against the Yankees, the underdogs, the walk off home run.
Yep,
You know,
yep, exactly. And so most teams have history of winning, right? But it's good for big market teams, and I'm going to include the Angels in the big market team. It's good for the Angels to be good and competitive. And Houston and Seattle are going to be very competitive this year. The Angels need to step in high gear, or they need to step out, right? So that was a rough one. I agree with you. My number two is a very controversial topic that I don't think people are going to like my opinions on this, but I have said this on many lives, so I'm okay with saying it again. The World Baseball Classic. The World Baseball Classic was created when the Olympics kicked out softball and baseball in the Olympics. MLB jumped on it and said, "Yeah, giddy up, let's go." Mm, mm, mm. And so my concern with the World Baseball Classic is I don't want to see players get hurt. We're not playing for anything anymore. Like you're trying to represent your country, and I get that, and that's important. That's very important. But at the same time, nah, nah. I just don't get hurt. If you're if you're Julio Urias, if you're Clayton Kershaw, who has had to have back issues, Julio Urias, who's had arm issues, Mike Trout, who's had back issues, Shohei Ohtani, who was on the IL for a little bit last year, do not get hurt. Because if I were an owner, I would say, you want to play in the World Baseball Classic? That means nothing. Awesome. Congratulations. Good for you. If you get hurt and you spend any time on the IL, I'm not paying you at all this next season. Your choice. You want to play on the World Baseball Classic? Great. Do it when you retire or run the risk. And so I'm not a big fan. I hate to say it. I'm not a big fan. It's fun to watch. It's fun to see these guys, but not popular.
yeah. I mean, I agree to an extent. My biggest gripe is it's always in the U.S. every single time.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fun if they played some games in like the Dominican Republic or in Japan where the fans get real rowdy.
Well, they
But
are. They're playing in Korea and Chinese Taipei, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in one of the
those are
brackets.
yeah, those are. Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I
Yeah.
think on a certain scale, it's good to spread the global game that way. But I also think you shouldn't be risking ours. You can showcase young talent. You can showcase guys who maybe are free agents and want to show off that they still have something. I think there's
Mhm.
plenty of ways to hold an exhibition style tournament. You know, if they went to the Olympic rules, the Olympics were amateurs. You have the minor league guys, but they're still good. They're good enough to be professional. So I don't know. All I know is Team Japan stacked, the Dominican Republic stacked, the U.S. is stacked. So while it exists, I guess we'll watch it and enjoy.
Well, and see, and my argument would be simple, right? If you want to hold this, do it at the end of the season. do it like the Pro Bowl, where it's at the end of the season and the teams that are in the World Series can't have players that are competing so that they're not getting hurt to start off the season,
Yeah,
right? And if somebody gets hurt in October, well, then fine. You either play in the World Series or you don't play, and you don't play in the World Baseball Classic, or you play in the World Baseball Classic and you're not in the World Series. But that being said, why don't you do it when everybody's kind of in baseball mode, right? And versus anything else. So
yeah.
just an FYI, Jackson, I believe Pool A, which is Germany, Czech Republic, Spain, France, Great Britain, and South Africa, play in Germany. Pool B, Panama, Nicaragua, Brazil, Pakistan, New Zealand, and Argentina play in oh, I'm sorry. This is the qualifying tournament. Never
Yeah, I
mind.
was gonna say, well, I know the qualifying tournament was played outside of the U.S.,
Yeah,
but
so you have this year you have Taiwan, which is Chinese Taipei, Cuba, Italy, Netherlands, and in Tokyo you have Japan, Korea, China, and Australia. In the US you have US, Canada, Mexico, Colombia, and Miami. Well, and that's in Phoenix. And then in Miami you have Puerto Rico, the DR, Israel, Venezuela. So, and then you have Tokyo and Miami, and then the finals are in Miami, which is great because Miami doesn't really host finals or the World Series. So, works out well. But again, my
I mean,
argument, bring it to October.
weather will be nice.
Yeah, exactly. Bring it to October, right? That's fine with me. Bring it to October. So nobody's getting hurt.
Yeah,
Yep.
I like. I agree with that.
So, all right, what you got for number three?
All right, speaking of Miami, they made a trade this last week.
They did. Tell us about it.
Well, they traded for the AL batting champ Luis Reyes. They traded Pablo Lopez and a prospect for him. This kind of highlights Miami's desperation to get a hitter in the lineup. I don't think that the fact that they need an attack on a prospect onto a good pitcher to get Minnesota of all teams to agree to the trade. I think Minnesota came out the winner. They definitely improved themselves. Uh, Arias has, you know, Chip disappearing, he might get even better. But he's not particularly good at anything else. He's not a great fielder. He doesn't have a lot of speed. Um, so there are concerns there. So if the bat slows down, what then? He doesn't have any pop. So if you're Miami, you're taking a big gamble and hoping that the big boppers that you signed last season, stay healthy and produce, and he can get on base for him. So I think it has a chance to be a really good trade for both sides. I think Miami, they had to make a move. They had a surplus of pitching, signing Johnny Cueto last week as well. Um,
Yeah.
so they had the surplus of pitching, and I think they this is probably the best they could have gotten with how thin the trade market is right now. But
Well,
it's interesting.
Sorry to cut you off. Miami's got to do something because the Mets and the Phillies have gotten better in Atlanta for years. Like they've signed players for long-term deals. So now Miami's irrelevant for 5, 6, 7 years unless you're going to start making some moves, right? And again, Miami's won 2 World Series. They won more World Series than the Angels and the Diamondbacks have won, and the Padres have won.
Well, they've won more World Series than almost every single team, bar like for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
You really think about it. So
Well, yeah, except for the Red Sox and the Yankees and a few others, right? Cardinals,
the Cardinals, the
Giants.
Giants, yeah, but more than 2/3 of the league, yeah, it's impressive. So
Yeah. No, and it's a great ballpark down there, and it's a good place to play baseball. It's just the fans aren't getting the Marlins need to do something. Otherwise, they're going to turn into the Oakland A's where you're going to get 1,500 people in the stands every night, right? Make it a competitive, make it something for people to watch. So, um, my last one, Jackson, is definitely controversial, and I'm going to say the reason why I'm bringing it up is twofold. One, I've been IM'd and DM'd about it a lot. And what are my thoughts? And I'll give you my thoughts in 30 seconds on it. But two, I do not support these actions whatsoever. Okay. So I'm going to talk about Mike Clevenger for a second. He made some very disappointing choices. That's all I'm going to say. And people need to understand that there's more to life than money and sex. And so if you are a professional athlete, if I were a professional athlete making millions of dollars like these guys like he or Trevor Bauer, I would be a model citizen. I would not be the guy that is looking to do something stupid. I don't support child abuse. I don't support females being hurt. And Mike Clevenger may have just ended his career because of bad decisions. So I know everybody was asking me about it, prior, and that's why I want to bring it up here because I think it's a decent forum and we're not on the live where everybody's going to throw their opinions around. But any thoughts on Mike Clevenger, and that action?
MLB really needs to tread carefully what kind of suspension they gave out. It needs to be equal or greater than Trevor Bauer's suspension.
Yes. Yes.
Otherwise, they're going to set a bad precedent in the league. So I think the MLB only has one choice here, and it's going to be to end Mike Clevenger's career effectively, because he's on the downtrend. He hasn't been pitching particularly well the last couple of seasons after getting hurt. For something to pop up like this, he's what, 34? He's old.
Yeah. For baseball standards, he's old.
So, for baseball standards, he's old. For normal people, he's still in his prime.
Yeah.
But it's one of those situations where the MLB needs to come down hard because they need to continue the precedent that they set. Otherwise, it's going to cause a whole host of other problems.
Yeah.
And I agree that they need to stick to, if you're going to commit to a certain suspension for a certain action, you need to follow through on it. It doesn't matter who commits it. It doesn't matter if it's someone you don't like. It doesn't matter if it's someone that's likable. If they do the crime, they got to do the time.
Yep. I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm sad that we're seeing this happen more and more. DV was for years we had a stint in the NFL where DV was like almost a weekly article that we were reading about. Now it seems to be becoming a baseball issue too. And so again, I want to be very clear. I am not a fan of child abuse. I am not a fan of women getting hit. Regardless if they do things that you think, oh, gee, that warrants that action. There's never a reason for a woman to be hit, right? The only time women get hit is if they're professional boxers and they're in a boxing ring against another woman. Then they're choosing to get hit.
They're getting paid to get hit.
Exactly. So, but I baseball needs to deal with it, and they need to be swift with it, and they need to be hard on it, and the contracts need to be a lot more stiff. That's basically says, hey, if you do this, you're gone. Just understand you're out of the league type thing.
Yeah,
but
and I understand the Players Association trying to protect the players' money, but from a PR standpoint, you can't protect these guys.
Yeah,
they're not guys you want to be associated with if you're the Players Association.
Exactly. So Jackson, we covered the Hall of Fame tonight. We covered a sticky situation tonight. We covered a couple of things in Miami. I think we done gone and did good, but now that people can see the video, they see this Dodger blue, they see that Braves red over there. But how do they get this stuff, Jackson?
I mean, if you hop on to topfanrivalry.com, head to the shop, you'll see our sweet selection of hats. They come in all sorts of colors, sizes. They're all snapbacks. They're all trucker hats here. You can see my long flowing hair that I got here.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice design. It's comfortable. It's breathable. I wore it bowling tonight. It was great. Had a great time. I wear it to work all the time. It's stylish. People always like the design on it. I always get compliments on the hat. So head on there. You know what? You can get a discount too. You can use code Jackson, get 10% off.
Beautiful. Use code Jackson. That's what I'm talking about.
Works for anything in the shop. If you want to pick up a t-shirt, pick up cozy, pick up some baseball.
Cozy. get behind the locker room access, use it all, use it all. So Jackson, I love these. I look forward to Thursdays to do this. So um the so we'll talk some more next week. This will drop in the locker room tomorrow morning for you top fans. Don't forget to go to topfanrivalry.com too and check out the watch party events. Figure out the city that you're in, figure out whether or not you want to be a part of it. Some of the events are going to allow us for Top Fan to have private party events where we can actually purchase things like appetizers. So if you're a locker room access person, like those of you listening, you can come to the event for dirt cheap, maybe even as little as $10. And you'll get some cool Top Fan stuff out of it too. So that being said, Jackson, let's do this again next week. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm down. There's more stuff happening this next week. Pitchers and catchers report in less than 30 days. So,
yep, let's do it. Let's do it. Thanks, Top Fans, for listening. We'll look forward to having you on again.